peace and grace over your life. I speak to you as a servant of the living God, and I'm telling you right now, you did not click on this video by accident. Heaven brought you here because something in your bloodline is about to break tonight. Listen closely. You've been feeling resistance. You've been feeling pressure. You've been sensing a battle that didn't start with you, a battle that has been running through your family for generations. And God just revealed, this ends tonight. Psalm 35 and Psalm 64 are not just scriptures. They are weapons, weapons God uses to expose hidden enemies, to silence every voice working in the dark, to break curses that have been following your bloodline for decades. And if you're here right now, it's because you are the curse breaker God chose. Before we go deeper, I want you to do something powerful. Go to the comments and declare aloud, "The curse ends with me." Say it with authority. Type it as a step of faith. Make the spiritual realm hear you. And if you need prayer, don't stay silent. Leave your request below. Our army will pray for you. We don't walk alone here. We fight as a family. Stay with me until the end of this message, because what God is about to reveal will connect directly with the next prayer I'm recommending at the end of this video. You need to watch both. This is a two-step breakthrough. First, God exposes the curse. Then, He destroys its influence completely. Don't move, don't skip. You're stepping into a moment that will shift your entire bloodline. You're here because something in your spirit knows there's been a battle you could never fully explain. Strange patterns, cycles repeating, doors closing without reason, attacks hitting you exactly when you tried to rise. And tonight, God is exposing what has been hiding behind all of it. He's shining light on the spiritual enemies that have stalked your bloodline for years. Psalm 35 and Psalm 64 were given to you as divine weapons, not for comfort, but for warfare. And as you hear every word of this message, you're going to feel something breaking inside you. Now that your attention is open, let me take you deeper. The enemy's strategy has always been silence, secrecy, and shadows. If you don't know you're under attack, you never fight back. That's why the curses in your family lasted so long. Not because the enemy was strong, but because no one before you recognized the battle. But you're not like the ones who came before you. You're awake. You're hungry. You're spiritually alert. Your eyes are opening to the reality. You were chosen to stop what destroyed generations before you. You're not here to survive. You're here to break what they couldn't. And now that desire has been ignited, you need understanding. You need to know what's been operating against your destiny. You need to see how the enemy built patterns in your family. You need to understand why the attacks increased when you stepped into purpose. Because God doesn't break curses in confusion. He breaks them in awareness. Psalm 35 exposes your enemies. Psalm 64 uncovers their strategies. Together, they create a spiritual explosion that tears down what's been sitting over your life for years. And now action is required. Don't just watch, engage. Type in the comments right now, "The curse ends with me." Seal it, don't leave without declaring it. If you need prayer, leave your request below. Our army will cover you. Then stay until the very end of this message, and immediately watch the next video. The breakthrough God started here doesn't finish here. You must follow the chain of deliverance. This is your moment, take it. Father, in the name of Jesus, we enter your presence with reverence, but we also step into this moment with authority. We stand under the protection of Psalm 35 and Psalm 64, and we declare, every hidden enemy, every spiritual assignment, every curse operating in this person's bloodline will be exposed and broken tonight. Lord, open their spirit to hear your voice clearly. Open their eyes to see what's been fighting them. Open their heart to receive freedom without fear. Let every chain attached to their family fall to the ground. Let every generational pattern lose its power. Let every curse that has followed them be destroyed by the fire of your word. Tonight, we don't come in weakness. We come in warfare. We stand on the authority of Jesus Christ. We stand on the promises of Scripture. We stand with heaven backing us. And we declare, no curse, no darkness, no spiritual voice, no hidden enemy, no ancestral assignment will survive this prayer. Holy Spirit, fill this atmosphere. Touch this person's home. Touch their mind. Touch their bloodline. Touch every area where the enemy tried to operate in silence. God, I ask you, reveal what needs to be revealed. Break what needs to be broken. Lift what needs to be lifted. Expose what needs to be exposed. Heal what needs to be healed. Restore what was stolen. We dedicate this video, this prayer, this moment to you. Move with power. Move with fire. Move with deliverance. And tonight, let this person declare boldly, the curse ends with me. In the mighty name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. There are things happening in your life right now that did not begin with you. Patterns you didn't choose. Battles you didn't start. Feelings you can't explain. Cycles that return, even when you think you've broken free. The first truth you need to understand tonight is this. What you're facing has roots deeper than your lifetime. The fight didn't begin when you were born. It began long before you ever arrived. Many people walk through life thinking they're just unlucky, emotional, broken, or having a hard season. But spiritual warfare is rarely obvious. It hides. It disguises itself as personality. It shows up as fear passed down, as insecurity in the family, as financial struggle repeating generation after generation, as emotional heaviness that no one talks about, yet everyone carries. Until someone in the bloodline wakes up and recognizes the pattern, the curse continues without resistance. If anything I've said feels too close to your reality, type in the comments right now, the curse ends with me. This is not a small step. This is spiritual warfare. Every declaration you make tonight carries weight. Psalm 35 and Psalm 64 were not written during peaceful seasons. They were forged in crisis, betrayal, hidden attack, invisible spiritual pressure. David wasn't praying casual prayers. He was crying out in warfare because he realized, not every enemy is visible. Not every attack comes through people you can see. Some enemies work in silence, in the dark, in hidden places. And that's exactly why these two psalms have the authority to break generational curses. Because they name the enemy that most people never see. For years, things in your life have felt off. Doors open for others, but stay closed for you. Every time you try to rise, something resists. When you try to heal emotionally, old wounds resurface. When relationships go well, something creates distance. When you step into new opportunities, something sabotages it. Even when you pray, you feel like something tightens instead of loosens. This is not coincidence. Not bad luck. Not imagination. This is spiritual warfare connected to your bloodline. If this truth is hitting your spirit, like right now, it's a prophetic step, breaking agreement with every ancestral pattern. Look at your family. Look honestly. Look without filters. How many struggled with the same emotional wounds? How many had difficult relationships? How many carried unexplainable heaviness? How many battled the same sickness? How many lived with fear? How many sabotaged their own blessing? How many repeated cycles of loss, disappointment, abandonment, anger, insecurity, or addiction? These are not isolated events. They are patterns, and patterns reveal the presence of spiritual influence. But here's the revelation God brought you here to hear. Patterns are broken by warriors, not victims. And you are the warrior God chose. Generational curses don't stay alive because they are powerful. They stay alive because no one ever named them, confronted them, or destroyed them. But tonight, through Psalm 35 and Psalm 64, we are naming them. We are exposing them. And by the power of God, we are breaking them. The enemy has tried to convince you. This is just how life is. You're dramatic, emotional, too sensitive, overthinking. He wants you to normalize what is actually spiritual sabotage. He wants you to think attacks are random, setbacks normal, confusion personal, fear psychological. Because if he can keep you blind, he can keep you bound. But the moment truth enters the room, darkness loses power. Psalm 64 says, "Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked." What does this mean? It means the real battle is rarely visible. The real attack is never obvious. The enemy works in places you don't see, through generations you never met, through cycles your family never identified. And that's exactly why you felt a weight on your life that didn't make sense. Because the attack was not just against you. It was against your entire bloodline. If you're still here, if your spirit recognizes it, something inside you is waking up. Something knows, tonight is not just another prayer. It is a turning point. If you feel that stirring, type boldly in the comments, "I break every curse on my bloodline." Let me talk to you personally now. There have been moments when you felt close to breakthrough, but something invisible pulled you back. Relationships that should have worked, but collapsed mysteriously. Seasons of hope that dissolved overnight. Opportunities that should have been yours, but slipped away. Decisions you wanted to make, but felt paralyzed. This paralysis is not mental. It is spiritual. And tonight, God is shining light on the root of it. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are not cursed by accident. You are under attack because of who you are and what you carry. The curse didn't choose your family randomly. It targeted your bloodline because of the calling inside you. And that's why God brought you here. Not to inform you, but to transform you. Not to comfort you, but to equip you. Not to encourage you, but to awaken the warrior inside you. By the end of this prayer, the thing that followed your family will lose its legal right to follow you. By the end of this night, the attack that crushed generations before you will not touch the generations after you. You are the breaking point. You are the interruption. You are the one God raised to shift the story of your bloodline. If you receive this, say it out loud and type it below. The curse ends with me. And if you need prayer right now, don't hold back. Leave your request below. Our army will pray for you. Stay with me. The transformation has just begun. There is a moment in every family line where the curse began. A door that opened. A wound that remained unhealed. An action that created a spiritual breach. Most people never identify it, which is why the curse keeps repeating. But tonight, God is giving you the clarity your ancestors never had. He is showing you what they could not see. He is revealing what they never understood. Because if you do know where the curse entered, you can't understand why it keeps returning. Lord, reveal the root. The origin of a curse is rarely dramatic. It doesn't always begin with witchcraft, dark magic, or explicit evil. Sometimes it starts with pain. A betrayal that broke someone emotionally. a trauma that was never healed, a wound that silenced someone's spirit, a season of injustice that created bitterness, a moment of fear that reshaped the family's entire mindset. Trauma becomes beliefs. Beliefs become patterns. Patterns become inheritance. Some curses begin with words spoken in anger. Some with actions made in desperation. Some with sin that no one confessed. Some with pain that no one processed. Some with secrets buried for decades. Some with envy sent by someone close. And some with direct spiritual attack, because the enemy saw the calling inside your bloodline long before anyone else did. If this makes sense to you, hit like as a step of spiritual agreement with truth. There was someone in your family, a great-grandparent, a grandparent, or further back, who faced a battle they didn't have the spiritual strength to fight. And because they didn't know how to break it, the curse attached itself to the family. From that moment forward, it began shaping destinies, emotions, relationships, health, and identity. Maybe they opened the door through unforgiveness, fear, occult curiosity, brokenness, words spoken in distress, bitterness that never healed. Most people don't realize spiritual doors open the same way physical doors do, through silence, neglect, pain, or distraction. But hear this clearly. You are not responsible for the door that opened, but you are responsible for closing it. And God is empowering you to do that tonight. Psalm 35 doesn't just expose visible enemies, it exposes the invisible ones. It reveals the unseen spiritual forces operating behind your family's story. David wasn't fighting just people, he was fighting the darkness that manipulated them. That same darkness tried to manipulate your family for years. Psalm 64 goes even deeper. It describes people and spirits who operate in silence, in secret, in shadows. It reveals how the enemy works behind your back, shooting arrows of fear, whispering lies, trying to confuse your path. It shows you the battle is surgical, targeted, and intentional. When you combine these two psalms, you create a spiritual spotlight that exposes the origin of every curse, including the one in your family. If you feel light entering places that were dark, write in the comments, expose every hidden root. Think about your family story, the patterns, the repeated struggles, the emotional cycles, the relationships that never worked, the sickness that keeps reappearing, the fear that shaped entire generations. These are not isolated incidents. They are echoes of what entered the family long before you. But this is where the miracle happens. God didn't choose you randomly. He chose you because you were spiritually strong enough to confront what broke them. The curse survived because no one before you recognized it. But you recognize it. You feel it. You see it. You hear it in your spirit. You live with a sensitivity they didn't have. You carry spiritual vision they never developed. That's why your battles were heavier. That's why you felt attacks they never talked about. That's why your warfare was stronger. Because the curse knows you are the one who can destroy it. If this resonates, declare boldly, I am the one God chose to end this. Your family didn't fail because they were weak. They fell because they lacked revelation. They didn't have Psalm 35. They didn't have Psalm 64. They didn't have this level of spiritual awareness. But you do. And this changes everything. Right now, God is taking you into the deepest layers of your bloodline. He's exposing the spiritual agreements made in your family. Agreements of fear. Agreements of pain. Agreements of silence. Agreements of insecurity. Agreements of unworthiness. These were passed down like inheritance. But God is breaking them one by one. And here's what you need to understand. The moment the curse entered your family, heaven already prepared the person who would end it. You weren't just born. You were positioned. You weren't just chosen. You were equipped. You weren't just attacked. You were identified as the breaker. Your battles were never random. The enemy fought you harder because he recognized the threat you pose. He saw your calling before you saw it. He saw your authority before you understood it. And he tried to stop you young because he knew you'd carry the spiritual strength your ancestors never had. But what he feared is happening right now. You are awakening. If you feel that awakening inside your spirit, type in the comments right now, "My bloodline will be free." Let me speak this prophetically. The moment the curse entered is not more powerful than the moment it ends. The door that opened in the past is not stronger than the authority you carry tonight. The darkness that began generations ago is not able to withstand the light God is releasing now. And if you need prayer during this revelation, don't stay silent. Leave your request below. Our army will pray for you. Tonight, your family history shifts. Tonight, the patterns begin to break. Tonight, the curse loses its grip. Stay with me. The next block reveals how the curse disguised itself, and you must hear this before the 7 times prayer. A generational curse survives because it learns how to hide. It doesn't show up wearing a dark shadow or an obvious attack. It hides inside behaviors, emotions, habits, reactions, patterns, and situations that look normal on the surface. And because it hides so well, most people never question it. They simply accept it as life. But what you accepted as normal, God calls a curse. If this is already hitting your spirit, go to the comments and declare, "The curse ends with me." Let's speak plainly. The enemy doesn't need to destroy a family openly when he can weaken it quietly. Instead of sending chaos, he sends patterns. Instead of storms, he sends repetition. Instead of visible darkness, he sends invisible cycles. And because the pattern repeats across generations, people start believing, this is just part of who we are. This is where most families get trapped. Maybe fear ran through generations, but everyone said, we're just warriors. Maybe anger and emotional shutdown ran through, but people said, that's just how we deal. Maybe financial struggle repeated, but the family said, we've always been like this. Maybe broken relationships, jealousy, isolation, or betrayal became common, but people said, love is complicated. Maybe sickness passed down and the family said, it's in our blood. What your family explained, God calls a curse. If you feel God exposing something that was hidden, like right now, a curse doesn't survive by force. It survives by camouflage. It hides in familiar places, so you don't fight it. It hides in behavior, so you think it's personality. It hides in emotion, so you think it's trauma. It hides in habits, so you think it's upbringing. And as long as you believe it's natural, you'll never confront it spiritually. Psalm 64 reveals exactly this strategy. David writes about enemies who operate in silence, in secret, in shadows. This is how spiritual attacks travel through generations, quietly, subtly, unnoticed. Psalm 35 exposes the same pattern. Enemies that work behind the scenes, planning in darkness, hiding their movements. Your family was not attacked by chance. The enemy identified an opening. A moment of trauma, bitterness, fear, betrayal, sin, or spiritual vulnerability, and used it to plan a pattern. The curse didn't start with you, but it has been trying to continue through you. That's why you felt certain battles so strongly. They weren't just yours. They were inherited, waiting for someone strong enough to stop them. If you understand this, Declare with boldness, "The curse ends with me." Let's look at how the curse disguised itself in your life. 1. It hid in your emotions. Fear, anxiety, overthinking, emotional heaviness. Right arrow, not random, not personality. These patterns attach through the curse. 2. It hid in your relationships. Cycles of abandonment, betrayal, jealousy, miscommunication, emotional disconnection. Right arrow, not bad luck, spiritual interference. 3. It hid in your finances. Every time things improved, something happened. Unexpected expenses, sudden losses, opportunities falling apart. Right arrow, not accidental, part of the curse's design. 4. It hid in your mind. Confusion at the wrong time, doubt at the moment of faith, mental fog when you needed clarity. Right arrow, not psychological, spiritual resistance. 5. It hid in your health. Sickness that repeats, conditions in multiple generations, weakness at strategic moments. Right arrow, not all sickness is spiritual, but repetition across generations often is. 6. It hid in your identity. Attacks against confidence, self-worth, calling, voice. Right arrow, the curse tried to shape how you saw yourself, so you'd live below what God intended. 7. It hid in your expectations. Hope weakened, dreams delayed, fear of believing, fear of disappointment. Right arrow, every time you tried to expect good, something inside resisted. The curse wanted to control your future by controlling your expectations. 8. And the most dangerous disguise of all. It hid behind the lie of normalcy. This is just how it is. This runs in the family. This is who we are. But tonight, God is ripping that lie out of your life. What felt normal was spiritual. What felt familiar was inherited. What felt psychological was actually generational. If this revelation is opening your eyes, declare again in the comments, "The curse ends with me." Let me speak to you now, directly and clearly. You've always felt different. You've always felt the battle more intensely than others in your family. You've always felt something pushing against your life. You've always felt like you were carrying weight that wasn't yours. You've always sensed darkness, resisting your spiritual growth. This didn't happen because you're weak. It happened because you are the one chosen to end what no one else could. The curse hid in your life because it feared what would happen the moment you recognized it. And here you are, recognizing, exposing, awakening, rising. You are the interruption. You are the breaking point. You are the first in your family to see the truth. The first with spiritual clarity. The first with spiritual authority. The first with the courage to confront what broke them. If this is speaking to you, write again in the comments, louder this time. The curse ends with me. And if you need prayer for your family, your home, your health, your mind, your emotions, go to the comments right now and write your request. Our army will pray for you. This is your moment. This is your awakening. This is the exposure the curse never wanted to happen. In the next block, we go even deeper. We reveal how the curse targeted your mind and why breaking that attack is essential before the 7 times prayer. One of the clearest signs a generational curse is active. The battle in your mind refuses to stop. You can move cities, change friends, change jobs, but if the curse is rooted in your mind, it will follow you. And many of the thoughts you've battled your whole life, they were never yours. They were seeds planted by something spiritual, targeting your bloodline long before you were born. If this truth is hitting your spirit, write in the comments right now, "The curse ends with me." Your mind has always been the enemy's priority. The curse could leave your finances, relationships, or environment alone for a season, but it never left your mind. Because the enemy knows. If he can influence how you think, he can influence how you live. Your peace, your courage, your faith, your expectations, your decisions, your direction, even your ability to hear God, all begin in the realm of the mind. A cursed mind cannot see clearly. A cursed mind cannot believe consistently. A cursed mind cannot walk boldly. That's why the enemy targeted this area so aggressively. There were moments you felt strong, ready to rise, and suddenly, a wave of fear, doubt, heaviness, or confusion hit your mind without warning. These mental attacks didn't come from stress or mood swings. They were spiritual attempts to weaken your identity and delay your destiny. Every time you were about to step into something new, something began whispering, "You can't do this. You're not good enough. You're going to fail. You're just like your family. Nothing will change. Why even try?" These thoughts came with pressure, not logic. With weight, not reflection. With intensity, not reason. And you felt them, because the curse wasn't trying to influence your day. It was trying to shape your future. Look at your family history. How many carried fear, anxiety, emotional instability, sadness, overthinking, insecurity, or mental exhaustion? How many lived with constant pressure, confusion, or inner conflict? How many battled thoughts they never spoke out loud? This didn't happen because they were weak. It happened because the curse targeted their minds, the same way it targeted yours. Psalm 64 describes arrows, silent, strategic arrows aimed at the heart and mind of the righteous. These arrows are not only events, they are thoughts, whispers, influences, mental attacks meant to destabilize your clarity and weaken your authority. Psalm 35 describes enemies operating in secret, planning attacks not visible on the outside, but felt deeply within. These two psalms expose the exact strategy the curse used against your mind. This is why you felt overwhelmed at random times. Why confusion hit when you needed clarity. Why fear surfaced when you started to believe. Why doubt appeared when you were ready to act. Why heaviness fell during moments that should have been peaceful. Why pressure increased every time you tried to break cycles. The curse didn't want you to think freely. It wanted to shape your thinking, so your mind would not match the identity God gave you. Because if it controlled your thoughts, it could control your direction. If it controlled your direction, it could limit your purpose. If it limited your purpose, it could survive through you, just like it did through generations before. But tonight, that control is breaking. If you feel this shift happening, even as you read, type these exact words in the comments. The curse ends with me. Let's be clear and direct. You are not too emotional. You are not weak-minded. You are not dramatic. You are not unstable. You are not broken. Those labels were lies the curse used to hide the real battle. You weren't struggling because something is wrong with you. You were struggling because something has been attacking you. And the fact that you're here, right now, means the attack is ending. Your mind is not damaged. Your spirit is awakening. You are becoming aware of a battle your ancestors never understood. They fought silently because they didn't know what was happening. You are fighting with revelation, with scripture, and with authority. This is why your victory will be different. This is why the curse cannot continue past you. Tonight the heaviness leaves. The confusion lifts. The fog breaks. The pressure loses its grip. The mental patterns that repeated in your family stop in you. If you feel this shift, write again in the comments. The curse ends with me. And if you need prayer for your mind, peace, clarity, emotional healing, freedom from fear or anxiety, go to the comments and write your request. Our army will pray. Stay close, because in the next block, you'll understand how the curse attacked your identity. And breaking that attack is essential. Before we enter the 7 times prayer, there's a part of this battle deeper than emotions, circumstances, or patterns. The curse attacked your identity. It tried to rewrite who you believe you are. It tried to sculpt your personality through fear, insecurity, shame, comparison, and spiritual pressure. Because if the curse could control your identity, it could control your destiny. And the reason this message reached you today: God is dismantling every false identity the curse tried to build inside you. If this truth is touching you, write in the comments, "The curse ends with me." From the moment you were born, the curse recognized the calling on your life. It saw your spiritual sensitivity, your potential, your authority. It saw that you were different from the rest of your family. And because of this, the first place it attacked was not your finances or relationships. It attacked your sense of self. It wanted you to grow up doubting your worth, believing you didn't matter, feeling overlooked, rejected, or out of place, even in rooms where you belonged. There were moments in your childhood where you felt invisible, unwanted, misunderstood, like your voice was ignored, like you had to shrink yourself just to survive. These weren't random emotional experiences. They were the curse shaping the foundation of your identity. The enemy wanted to wound you early, so you'd live your entire life with a distorted perception of who you are. If you felt this as a child or teen, type boldly, "The curse ends with me." Throughout your life, you've dealt with internal voices that were never yours. You're not enough. You're weak. You're not capable. You'll fail. You don't deserve good things. You're behind everyone else. Just settle for less. Those voices weren't self-criticism. They were generational whispers, spiritual influences trying to position you beneath your calling. The curse wanted to convince you you were ordinary when God made you extraordinary. It wanted you to believe you were small when you were called to stand tall. It wanted you to believe you were powerless when you carry spiritual authority. Psalm 35 and Psalm 64 reveal enemies that attack identity, creating confusion, insecurity, and intimidation. Their goal: weaken your spirit by weakening your confidence. If they can make you doubt yourself, they can stop you from walking in the authority God gave you. But tonight, that attack is being broken from its foundation. If you're ready, write again, "The curse ends with me." Let's expose how the curse attacked your identity in different seasons. There were times you started believing in yourself, then something happened that made you question everything: disappointment, criticism, betrayal, sudden failure. Right arrow, not accidents. Targeted attacks to push you back into insecurity. Seasons you felt confident, strong, bold. Then a wave of fear hit so hard it shut you down. Right arrow, not a mood shift. Spiritual intimidation to silence your potential. Moments you felt clarity about who you were and where you were going. Then confusion appeared so quickly, you doubted your own discernment. Right arrow, not mental weakness, spiritual fog. Relationships that damaged your identity, because the curse used people to reinforce rejection, insecurity, abandonment, comparison, or self-doubt. The curse used emotional wound to create false beliefs about yourself. If this describes your life, declare again with faith, "The curse ends with me." The curse also attacked your boldness. Every time you tried to speak up, your voice felt small. Every time you tried to decide, something in you hesitated. Every time you stepped into something new, a pressure inside made you retreat. Right arrow, you thought it was personality. It was. It was spiritual interference designed to silence your authority. It attacked your sense of belonging, making you feel like you didn't fit in your family, relationships, groups, even in moments of blessing. Right arrow, not emotional, spiritual isolation. The curse wanted you alone because isolation weakens identity. It attacked your self-image, making you focus on weaknesses, flaws, past failures, fears. So you saw yourself through the lens of wounds, not purpose. It wanted to hide your value by magnifying your pain. But now you're here, hearing truth your family never received, seeing what they never saw, breaking what they carried, stepping into the identity the curse tried to erase. You are becoming the person God intended you to be, long before the curse ever existed. If you feel this restoration, write again in the comments. The curse ends with me. Let me speak to you directly, with spiritual authority. You are not your past. You are not your wounds. You are not your mistakes. You are not your trauma. You are not what was spoken over you. You are not the person the curse tried to mold. You are not the lies that shaped your childhood. You are not the fear that chased you. You are not the insecurity that tried to define you. You are chosen, anointed, appointed, spiritually awake, called to break what broke others. The interruption to the generational pattern. The warrior the curse hoped would never rise. If this resonates deeply, type again with boldness. The curse ends with me. And if you need prayer for your identity, confidence, self-worth, emotional restoration, sense of purpose, go to the comments right now and write your request. Our army will pray for you. One of the most painful manifestations of a generational curse. What it does to relationships. It affects connection, trust, communication, unity, love, emotional stability. It doesn't matter if it's romantic, family, or friendship. When a curse is active, relationships become battlefields. Not because people don't care. Not because love isn't real. But because something spiritual is attacking the connection between them. If this resonates, declare in the comments, the curse ends with me. Every family has patterns. How they love, how they communicate, how they express emotion, how they handle conflict, how they respond to pain. Many of these didn't come from personality, they came from spiritual influence. Curses don't only target an individual, they target the entire environment. They attack relationships because relationships complete purpose. A person in isolation is easier to break. A connected person is harder to destroy. Think about your family. Some struggle with anger, some with silence, some with betrayal, some with abandonment, some with jealousy, some with coldness, some with emotional inconsistency, some with communication breakdowns, some with toxic patterns passed down. These aren't just family issues. They are symptoms of a curse operating silently in the background. If you've seen repeated patterns, type again. The curse ends with me. Let's look at what the curse did to your relationships in truth. There were moments you loved deeply but were met with rejection. You tried to communicate, but your voice wasn't heard. You opened your heart, but someone used your vulnerability against you. Small misunderstandings became emotional storms. People treated you in ways that made no sense, as if something invisible was fueling conflict. Those moments weren't just emotional. They were spiritual. The curse tried to break your relationships, so you'd never experience the love, unity, support, and partnership God intended. It wasn't just about hurting you. It was about isolating you. Because isolation weakens spiritual authority. When the enemy disconnects you, he discourages you. When he discourages you, he weakens your fire. When he weakens your fire, he slows your purpose. This is why the curse attacked your connections with intensity. If this is speaking into your story, declare out loud and in the comments, "The curse ends with me." The curse also entered relationships through patterns of distrust. Not because you wanted to mistrust, but because your family line carried wounds that shaped how you approached connection. Fear of being hurt, fear of abandonment, fear of betrayal, fear of conflict, fear of opening up. These weren't personality traits. They were generational wounds. But tonight, God is exposing the root. There were situations. You gave your best, but received the worst. You tried to fix things, but someone kept breaking them. Unity seemed impossible. You felt responsible for holding everything together. You were loyal to people who weren't loyal to you. Love felt unstable, fragile, or painful. Through all this, the curse was feeding off your exhaustion. If this is opening your eyes, write again with boldness. The curse ends with me. Your relationships were also attacked by confusion. Words misinterpreted. Emotions escalated. Small issues became deep fractures. You explained yourself, and things got worse. This wasn't bad luck. It was strategic spiritual interference. The curse used emotional patterns to create relational barriers. Planted insecurity where there should have been trust. Planted doubt where there should have been peace. Planted conflict where there should have been unity. Planted fear where there should have been love. You may have wondered, why does connection feel so hard for me? This is the answer. Because the curse didn't want you to experience the relationships that would elevate your calling. And yet, despite all this, you kept loving. You kept trying. You kept forgiving. You kept hopping. You kept standing. You kept showing up. Because God placed something inside you the curse could not break. A heart capable of restoration. If you feel hope rising, declare again. The curse ends with me. Let me speak clearly. You were never the problem. Your love was not the issue. Your loyalty was not the mistake. Your effort was not wasted. Your heart was not wrong. Your desire for connection was not weakness. Your pursuit of unity was not foolishness. What broke your relationships wasn't you. It was the curse influencing the environment around you. But now that the truth is exposed, the curse loses its power. Because curses operate in darkness, not in revelation. Tonight, God is shining light on every relationship pattern that has followed your family for decades. You are the one who will love differently, connect differently, communicate differently, forgive differently, break emotional cycles, build relationships on truth, not trauma, create a new legacy for your bloodline. If this is your word, declare it again in the comments. The curse ends with me. And if you need prayer for your relationships, family, marriage, partner, friendships, emotional healing, go to the comments and leave your request. Our army will pray for you. There is a part of the generational curse many never recognize, yet it's one of the most dangerous. The curse tries to shape your decisions. It tries to influence the choices you make, the opportunities you accept, the paths you walk, the risks you avoid, the doors you step through. Because if it can shape your decisions, it can control your direction. And if it controls your direction, it controls your entire future. If this is speaking into your story, write in the comments right now. The curse ends with me. Think back to key moments. You were close to change. God was pulling you forward. You felt faith, courage, vision, clarity rising. And every time, something inside pushed back. Your mind hesitated. Your heart feared the outcome. Your confidence weakened. A voice said, "Wait, delay, step back, stay comfortable." That inner resistance wasn't personality. It was the curse trying to stop you from stepping into a future different from your family's past. For years, your decisions were shaped by influences you didn't see. You felt drawn to certain patterns because they were familiar. Familiar pain, familiar fear, familiar relationships, familiar environments. The curse always pulled you back toward what felt known, not because it was good for you, but because familiar patterns keep a curse alive. Breaking a generational curse requires decisions that go beyond the familiar. And every time you try to break away, something spiritual pushed back. If you've ever felt paralyzed at the exact moment you needed to act, declare boldly, "The curse ends with me." There were opportunities placed in front of you that you walked away from, without fully understanding why. You told yourself, "I'm not ready, timing's wrong, I need more stability." But deep down, you knew something held you back, something that didn't want you to rise higher than those before you. This wasn't laziness. It wasn't indecision. It was generational pressure, a curse that taught your family to fear change, to settle, to believe greatness wasn't for them. And that same pressure tried to influence your choices. But tonight, the chain that shaped those decisions is breaking. If you feel this lifting, type again. The curse ends with me. Let's speak plainly. There were times you made decisions out of fear instead of faith. Stayed in situations too long. Accepted less than you deserved. Didn't speak up. Didn't move forward. Avoided confrontation. Tolerated things that destroyed your peace. Ignored opportunities because you feared you weren't capable. These weren't bad choices. They were influenced choices, shaped by emotional patterns passed down through generations. The curse also influenced your decision through exhaustion. When a person is spiritually tired, they choose survival over growth, comfort over breakthrough, easy over right. And because the curse drained your energy for years, even simple decisions felt overwhelming. This was not weakness. It was spiritual warfare. If you've lived this, type again. The curse ends with me. The curse influenced your confidence, made you overthink every step, made you question your abilities, made you see yourself through past failures, made you exaggerate weaknesses, ignore strengths, made you avoid opportunities, fearing disappointment, made you hesitate when boldness was needed. Psalm 35 and Psalm 64 reveal the enemy uses fear and intimidation to block destiny. These strategies don't always show up through people. They show up through thoughts, feelings, internal pressure. There were times you knew exactly what God wanted you to do, but something in you hesitated. That hesitation wasn't personality, it was interference. The curse tried to delay you, so long that opportunities would pass you by. And many times they did, not because you lacked potential, but because the curse influenced your decisions. But let me speak this clearly. You are not behind. You are being awakened. Every decision you make from this moment on will come from clarity, not confusion. Strength, not fear. Identity, not insecurity. Spirit, not pressure. Purpose, not survival. If you receive this word, declare again. The curse ends with me. The curse also influenced your decisions by surrounding you with the wrong people. People who drained you, discouraged you, confused you, used you, underestimated you, or pulled you backward. These connections weren't accidents. They were assignments, sent to reinforce the curse through emotional wounds and spiritual interference. But now the curse is being exposed. God is removing every connection built on brokenness. You will no longer choose relationships from pain. You will no longer choose opportunities from fear. You will no longer choose your future based on your past. Freedom in your decisions begins tonight. If you're ready for that shift, type again. The curse ends with me. And listen closely, this is prophetic. You are entering a season where your decisions will break what your family could not. The steps you take will be different. The choices you make will carry spiritual impact. You are not choosing just for yourself. You are choosing for generations after you. When you rise, your bloodline rises. When you break cycles, your family breaks cycles. When you choose healing, your family inherits healing. When you choose breakthrough, your children and grandchildren inherit breakthrough. This is why the enemy fought your decisions so long. He knew the moment you started choosing from purpose instead of fear, the curse would lose its power. And that moment is now. If this word is confirming something inside you, write again. The curse ends with me. And if you need prayer for your decisions, clarity, direction, courage, purpose, alignment with God's will, go to the comments and write your request. Our army will pray for you. There is a part of the generational curse most never notice, yet it's one of the strongest signs of spiritual warfare. The curse infiltrates the atmosphere around you. It shapes the environment you live in, creating tension in the air, heaviness in your home, pressure in your surroundings, influencing your mood, energy, focus, and peace. Many of the battles you fought weren't caused by people or situations. They came from the atmosphere, the curse, established around your life. If you feel this connecting inside you, declare, the curse ends with me. Sometimes you walk into a room and the air feels heavy. Sometimes you wake up feeling spiritual weight before anything even happens. Sometimes you try to pray, but the atmosphere feels resistant and suffocating. Sometimes arguments break out for no reason. Sometimes confusion settles in your home without explanation. Sometimes you feel drained without doing anything. Sometimes your sleep becomes restless. Sometimes your peace disappears suddenly. These aren't random moments. They are signs the curse has influenced the spiritual climate around you. The enemy knows. Atmosphere shapes outcomes. A heavy atmosphere weakens the spirit. A chaotic atmosphere weakens clarity. A fearful atmosphere weakens confidence. A tense atmosphere weakens prayer. This is why the curse wanted to dominate the space around you. Because if it could influence your environment, it could influence everything inside you. Psalm 64 talks about the enemy working in secret places, the invisible realm. Psalm 35 talks about enemies who operate without cause, attacks with no logical explanation. These passages reveal spiritual darkness often hides in atmospheres before it manifests in events. The curse didn't always show itself dramatically. Sometimes it simply adjusted the environment until chaos felt normal. If this is opening your eyes, write again. The curse ends with me. There were times the atmosphere in your home felt unstable, unpredictable, unsettling. Tension appeared out of nowhere. Peace lasted only briefly before something shifted. Small things became big arguments. Silent moments felt spiritually loud. Nights felt heavier than days. Even when everything looked calm on the outside, something inside told you the atmosphere wasn't right. This didn't happen because you were overly sensitive. It happened because you were spiritually aware. You felt what others ignored. You sensed what others didn't perceive. And the curse tried to use the environment to wear you down slowly. There were also seasons where the curse brought people into your life who carried their own spiritual heaviness. People whose presence drained your energy, shifted the atmosphere, brought tension instead of peace. Because they were close to you, Their atmosphere became part of yours. But listen carefully. God didn't design your environment to be a battlefield. He designed you to carry peace, authority, clarity, and spiritual dominion. The curse attacked your atmosphere because it feared the authority God placed inside you. If you feel your spirit rising through this revelation, type, "The curse ends with me." There were moments you walked into certain places, work, family gatherings, relationships, and you felt something inside tighten. You felt uneasy, unsettled, spiritually on guard. That wasn't intuition. It was discernment. Your spirit recognized the atmosphere, even when your mind couldn't explain it. The curse also influenced the atmosphere by repeating patterns of frustration. Every time something good started, tension appeared. Every time joy entered, heaviness followed. Every time you felt peace, something tried to disrupt it. Every time you had clarity, something tried to confuse it. This wasn't coincidence. It was timing, one of the clearest signs of spiritual opposition. But here's the truth the curse hoped you never discover. You are called to shift atmospheres, not be shaped by them. When you enter a room, the room should change. When you pray, the atmosphere should respond. When you speak God's word, the darkness should scatter. When you stand in your calling, the spiritual climate must obey the authority inside you. And that authority is awakening right now. As you hear this, if you receive it, declare again, "The curse ends with me." Let me speak directly to you now. You are not a victim of the atmosphere around you. You are the one God equipped to break it. You carry something your ancestors didn't. You feel what they couldn't. You see what they were blind to. You discern what they ignored. You are spiritually awake in ways your family never was. And that awakening is why the curse is afraid of you. From this moment on, the atmosphere in your home shifts. The heaviness loses its power. Spiritual resistance breaks. You walk with authority. Peace surrounds you. Confusion leaves. The environment responds to the presence of God inside you. If this word is confirming what your spirit already knew, type it with authority. The curse ends with me. And now, as you open your heart for deliverance in your atmosphere, if you need prayer for decisions, clarity, direction, courage, purpose, alignment with God's will, go to the comments and write your request. Our army will pray for you. You are covered. You are supported. You are surrounded by spiritual warriors. There is another part of this battle very few recognize, but it's one of the clearest signs a generational curse is active. The curse attacks your spiritual growth. It tries to block your connection with God, silence your hunger for the Holy Spirit's presence, distract you the moment you attempt to pray, weaken your faith at the exact moment God is strengthening you. Because a curse cannot survive in a person who is spiritually awake. So it attacks the very place where your freedom begins. If this is speaking into your experience, declare right now in the comments, "The curse ends with me." There have been moments you felt close to God, your heart soft, your spirit open, sensing Him calling you deeper. And suddenly something shifted. Distraction arrived out of nowhere. Pressure increased. Your mind became foggy. Your emotions felt heavy. Your motivation to pray disappeared. Your desire to seek God weakened. Something invisible pulled you back the moment you tried to move forward spiritually. These weren't coincidences. They were spiritual interference. The curse was trying to weaken your connection with God because the enemy knows one truth. A person who walks closely with God becomes unstoppable. And he feared the day you'd realize the spiritual authority inside you. There were also seasons. You tried to pray, but your mind wouldn't settle. You wanted to read scripture, but felt distracted. You wanted to seek God, but felt numb. You wanted to worship, but felt disconnected. You wanted to break cycles, but felt spiritually tired. You thought something was wrong with you, but nothing was wrong with you. What you felt was warfare. The curse was trying to keep you spiritually asleep, because awakeness leads to freedom. If this is opening your eyes, type again. The curse ends with me. There were days. You wanted to worship, but heaviness filled the room. You wanted to pray, but confusion clouded your mind. You wanted to listen to God, but internal noise drowned him out. You wanted to rise, but something inside felt stuck. This internal resistance wasn't your nature. It was spiritual suppression passed down through generations. The curse wanted to keep your family spiritually blind, asleep, disconnected. And it tried the same with you. But it failed. The very fact that you are watching, reading, seeking, praying, learning, awakening. This is proof the curse is losing its power. You are not spiritually blind. You are spiritually sensitive. You hear things others ignore. You feel things others dismiss. You sense warfare others cannot detect. And that awareness is the beginning of your breakthrough. If you feel this shift happening inside you, type again. The curse ends with me. Let me speak into your spirit now. The curse tried to separate you from God because it knew. The moment you truly connected to Him, everything would change. Your identity would change. Your healing would begin. Your direction would become clear. Your authority would grow. Your spiritual fire would rise. Your destiny would activate. The curse was terrified of your relationship with God, because it is in God's presence that curses are destroyed, patterns break, generational chains fall, identity is restored, fear loses power. And that is exactly what's happening right now. You are returning to God with hunger, and the curse is trembling. You felt God pulling you deeper these past days. You felt a stirring in your spirit you can't explain. You felt a fire waking up inside you. You felt a desire to break cycles that once felt normal. You felt conviction, clarity, and connection growing in your heart. This isn't emotion. This is the Holy Spirit awakening what the curse tried to bury. If this confirms what you've been feeling, declare again. The curse ends with me. Let me tell you something prophetic. Your prayer life is about to increase. Your spiritual sensitivity is about to sharpen. Your dreams will become clearer. Your discernment will grow. Your hunger for God will deepen. Your atmosphere will shift. Your faith will rise. What the curse tried to suppress, God is reviving right now. This is why the attacks against your spiritual life were so strong. The curse saw what God placed inside you before you did. And it knew if you ever awakened fully, the curse would be broken permanently. And that moment is now. Say it one more time with authority. The curse ends with me. There is a part of the generational curse that attacks deeper than mind, emotions, relationships, or environment. It attacks your purpose. Every person carries a divine assignment. Every person is created with intention. Every person is born with spiritual potential that scares darkness. And because your calling carries impact, the curse targeted your destiny early, before you even understood what was inside you. If this resonates, declare right now. The curse ends with me. The enemy has always known who you were. Long before you discovered your identity, gifts, or felt God's pull, the enemy recognized. You were different. You didn't think like your family. You didn't feel like them. You didn't fit their patterns. Spiritually, you were always the anomaly. The one with sensitivity. the one with discernment, the one with hunger, the one with depth, the one with calling. And the curse tried to silence all of that. There were moments purpose tried to rise inside you, and suddenly obstacles appeared. Unexpected resistance. People discouraged you. Fear overwhelmed you. Doubt grew louder. Opportunities disappeared. This wasn't random, it was strategic. The curse wanted to disconnect you from the path God designed. If you felt moments your purpose seemed close, yet always out of reach, declare again, "The curse ends with me." Let me show you how the curse attacked your destiny. There were times you felt spiritually drawn to things, teaching, leading, serving, creating, building, healing. But something inside convinced you weren't qualified. That something wasn't insecurity, it was spiritual resistance. Seasons you started moving toward your calling, and suddenly life became chaotic. Breakdowns happened. Relationships collapsed. Your peace was disrupted. Your motivation disappeared. This wasn't coincidence, it was timing. The curse always fights hardest when destiny is nearby. Opportunities in your past that could have changed your life, but fear, confusion, or heaviness pushed you away. These weren't simple emotional reactions. They were generational patterns rising at the exact moment breakthrough was coming. If this describes you, type again with authority. The curse ends with me. The curse also attacked your purpose through identity wounds. If the enemy made you believe you were unworthy, he made you believe you weren't called. If he made you believe you were small, he made you believe your purpose was small. If he made you believe you were broken, he made you believe your calling was beyond reach. These lies weren't internal, they were inherited. Every time you doubted your ability, backed away from a dream, settled for less, told yourself you weren't ready, compared yourself to others, hid your gifts, silenced your voice, you weren't acting out of reality. You were acting under the influence of a generational curse. But tonight that influence ends. If you feel purpose stirring inside you again, type, "The curse ends with me." Let me talk to you personally. Deep inside, you've always known you were meant for more. You felt it even when you couldn't explain it. You sensed God calling you, even when you didn't understand the language of calling. You felt the pull, the difference, the weight, the responsibility. And everything the curse did was designed to disconnect you from that inner knowing. But the truth is unavoidable. Now you are awakening. Your purpose is awakening. Your spirit is awakening. Your calling is awakening. The very thing the curse feared is happening. Psalm 35 and Psalm 64 don't only expose enemies, they activate destiny. When darkness is revealed, purpose is revived. When truth enters, calling rises. When chains break, identity awakens. And that is exactly what's happening to you right now. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not disqualified. You are not forgotten. You are not broken beyond repair. Your destiny is intact. Your purpose is alive. Your gifts are still inside you. Your calling is still waiting to be activated. God didn't change his mind about your life. The curse just tried to convince you he did. But tonight, God is restoring everything the curse tried to steal from your destiny. Say it again in the comments with faith. The curse ends with me. One of the strongest signs a generational curse has been operating. The pattern of resistance every time you try to move forward. It doesn't matter how hard you work, how committed you are, how positive your mindset. Something always rises against you at the moment of progress. Like every time you take one step forward, an invisible force pushes you 2 steps back. If this sounds like your story, declare it right now. The curse ends with me. There have been seasons. You worked harder than ever, yet saw little to no results. Doors opened for others, but stayed shut for you. Blessings came close, but slipped through your fingers. Unexpected obstacles appeared out of nowhere. Opportunities seemed promising, but something spiritual blocked them. Everything started well, but ended in frustration. That pattern of interruption wasn't life trying to humble you. It was spiritual resistance trying to keep you from rising above the limits your family never broke. Every time you tried to grow, the curse tried to choke the growth at its roots. You weren't lazy. You weren't unproductive. You weren't unfocused. You weren't irresponsible. You were under attack, and you didn't even know it. The curse was terrified of your progress, because your progress would break the cycle. If you rise, your bloodline rises. If you break through, the entire spiritual structure collapses. That's why the curse fought you harder than anyone else in your family. If this is hitting your spirit, type again. The curse ends with me. Think about your life. How many times you got close to breakthrough? How often victory was followed by sudden disappointment? How often momentum was disrupted? How often hope was drained? How often plans were right, but timing fell apart? This repetitive cycle is one of the clearest signs of generational warfare. Psalm 35 reveals enemies that rise without cause, obstacles that make no sense. Psalm 64 reveals enemies who attack suddenly, exactly how your setbacks felt. These scriptures explain the resistance that followed your growth. Not every battle you faced began with you. Some began long before you were born. But tonight, that cycle is ending. If you're receiving this revelation, declare again with boldness. The curse ends with me. There were also seasons where breakthroughs started but didn't complete. Ideas that never fully developed. Projects that stalled halfway. Relationships that showed potential but collapsed. Opportunities that came with promise but ended in confusion. These unfinished victories were part of a spiritual pattern. The curse wanted your life filled with almosts. Almost healed. Almost free. Almost successful. Almost stable. Almost confident. Almost restored. Almost blessed. But God didn't call you to almost. He called you to completion. The curse tried to convince you. Delay meant denial. Setbacks meant failure. Resistance meant abandonment. But none of that was true. What felt like failure was spiritual interference. What felt like denial was spiritual attack. If this is exposing something deep inside you, write it again. The curse ends with me. Let me speak to you directly now. You've always had potential. You've always had ideas. You've always had gifts. You've always had spiritual fire. You've always had God's hand over your life. The curse knew this. And every time you were close to activating that potential, it worked overtime to stop you. This is why. Emotional pressure increased during seasons of progress. Confusion hit when you were ready to rise. Fear hit when you took steps of faith. Distraction appeared when you tried to focus. Exhaustion hit when you pursued purpose. Chaos showed up when breakthrough was near. You weren't imagining it. You weren't being dramatic. You were in warfare. But now that you're spiritually awake, the curse loses its grip. What once stopped you now fears you. What once blocked you now submits to your authority. What once oppressed you now breaks under the power of God moving in your life. Say it with your spirit fully awake. The curse ends with me. Your progress is about to accelerate. Doors that resisted you will open. Opportunities that slipped away will return. Ideas that died are coming back. Dreams that faded are being revived. Strength that was drained is being restored. Clarity that was stolen is returning. Favor that was blocked is being released. You will not repeat the cycle of almost ever again. Your victory will be complete. Your progress will be established. Your destiny will move forward. And if you need prayer for decisions, clarity, direction, courage, purpose, alignment with God's will, go to the comments and write your request. Our army will pray for you. One of the most calculated strategies of a generational curse. It's attack on confidence. Not arrogance, not ego. Confidence, the inner courage to step forward, take territory. Make decisions, walk in purpose. The curse doesn't need to destroy your faith if it can destroy your confidence. Because a person with weakened confidence will talk themselves out of the very things God has called them to walk into. The enemy doesn't have to close doors if he can convince you you're not worthy to walk through them. And this is exactly what the curse tried to do to you. If this is hitting your spirit, write in the comments, "The curse ends with me." From early on, you battled internal conflict, wanting to rise, but feeling something hold you down. Something in you always felt capable, but something around you always tried to silence that capability. You'd get an idea and immediately doubt it. You'd feel a calling and immediately question it. You'd see potential in yourself and immediately fear failing. This wasn't your personality. It was an inherited attack against confidence that ran through your bloodline. Think about it. Your family carried quiet insecurity. People never fully believed in themselves. They settled for less. They avoided risks. They lived below their potential. They second-guessed their abilities. They stayed in emotional cages, even when doors were wide open. They didn't do this because they lacked talent. They did it because something spiritual convinced them they weren't enough. And that same spirit tried to shape you. If this resonates deeply, write again. The curse ends with me. You've experienced moments. You felt strong and ready, only for doubt to suffocate you within minutes. You had God-given opportunities, but insecurity whispered louder than destiny. You had dreams that sparked fire, but fear extinguished it before the first step. These patterns weren't coincidence. They were spiritual interruptions designed to keep you small. The curse attacked your courage, boldness, voice, sense of value, inner strength. Because if it could shrink your confidence, it could shrink your future. There were seasons you didn't trust your own judgment. Moments you needed to decide something important, but fear convinced you to delay or avoid it altogether. Chances you should have taken, goals you should have pursued, moves you should have made, but insecurity convinced you to stay in the familiar. This pattern didn't begin with you. It traveled through your family for years, waiting for someone to finally recognize it. And that someone is you. If you feel this awakening inside you, declare again, "The curse ends with me." Let me speak even more directly. You weren't just afraid of failing. You were afraid of succeeding. Not because success scared you, but because you never saw a model for it in your family. You never saw what it looked like for someone in your bloodline to rise to their full, God-given identity. The curse kept your family small. And when you tried to step higher, you felt spiritual resistance because you were reaching territory the curse never wanted your bloodline to access. And yet, despite all this, something in you refused to give up. Something kept trying. Something kept believing there was more. Something kept dreaming. Something kept rising again and again. You were never small. The curse just tried to convince you that you were. If this truth is breaking lies inside you, Write it boldly. The curse ends with me. Your confidence is returning. Not the confidence built on human effort, but the confidence built on identity. Knowing who you are. Knowing whose you are. You were not created to walk in fear. You were not created to stay silent. You were not created to stay hidden. You were not created to shrink your voice so others would feel comfortable. You were not created to bury your gifts. You were created with authority, purpose, spiritual weight, the ability to take territory your family never touched. And the curse is terrified of that truth. From this moment on, your confidence will not come from emotion. It will come from revelation. You will begin seeing yourself through God's eyes, not through your wounds. You will begin stepping into opportunities without apology. You will begin speaking with boldness. You will begin trusting your God-given identity. You will stop overthinking what God already gave you the ability to do. Say it again and seal it. The curse ends with me. One of the most subtle yet destructive strategies of a generational curse. The attack on expectation. The curse doesn't just attack your progress or confidence. It attacks the very thing that fuels your faith, your hope. Because a person without hope stops believing for more. A person without expectation stops praying with passion. A person without vision stops moving forward. A person who no longer expects breakthrough becomes spiritually passive, emotionally tired, mentally exhausted. The curse knows. If it can kill expectation, it can kill destiny without ever touching your circumstances. If this is speaking into your experience, declare in the comments, the curse ends with me. There were seasons hope started rising. You felt excited about something. Faith was building. Expectation was unlocking. God was stirring something new. And right at that moment, almost instantly, something happened that disappointed you so deeply your hope collapsed. This wasn't coincidence. This was strategic. The curse targeted your expectation, because your expectation is the fuel of spiritual breakthrough. Think about how many times this happened. You were believing for something big, and suddenly circumstances shifted. You were expecting a miracle, and suddenly chaos hit. You were lifting your faith, and suddenly your emotions crashed. You were ready to step into something new, and suddenly discouragement came out of nowhere. This timing wasn't random. It was warfare. If this resonates, type again with authority. The curse ends with me. The curse also attacked your hope through long seasons of delay. When things take too long, the heart becomes tired. When prayers take too long to be answered, the spirit becomes weary. When progress is slow, it's easy to believe breakthrough is impossible. The curse used delay as a weapon. Made you believe waiting meant God had abandoned you. Tried to convince you nothing would ever change. Tried to wear you down until you became spiritually numb. But the delay was never denial. It was resistance. And tonight, that resistance breaks. There were also moments your expectations were shaped by your family's history. When everyone around you accepts limitation, lack, pain, and struggle as normal, it affects how you see life. You were taught unintentionally to expect less, believe for less, hope for less, settle for less. This wasn't your mindset. It was inherited. The curse tried to reduce your expectation to match the patterns in your bloodline. But God is restoring your expectation right now. If you feel your spirit waking up, even as you read this, declare again, the curse ends with me. Let me go deeper. There were times you didn't pray boldly because you didn't expect the answer. You didn't dream again because the last dream hurt you. You didn't hope because disappointment felt too heavy. You didn't open your heart because you feared another heartbreak. You avoided opportunities because you feared they'd fall apart again. These weren't weaknesses. They were emotional scars created by the curse. But at this moment, God is healing your hope. Your expectation is coming back. Not naive expectation, not shallow positivity, not wishful thinking, but real spiritual expectation rooted in revelation. Expectation that aligns with God's promises, sees beyond circumstances, believes again, rises despite the past, shifts atmospheres, commands blessing. You are entering a season where you will expect differently, pray differently, believe differently, hope differently, dream differently, speak differently, see differently. The curse tried to silence your expectation because it knew the truth you're discovering right now. Your expectation is a weapon. And from this moment on, that weapon is being restored to your hands. Say it again in the comments and let heaven and hell hear it. The curse ends with me. Listen to me. If this message touched your spirit, if something inside you awakened, if you felt chains breaking while you listened, don't leave without taking a step of faith. Break the silence the curse used for generations. Go to the comments right now and declare with authority. The curse ends with me. Declare it for your family. Declare it for your future. Declare it for every generation after you. And if you need prayer for your home, your mind, your bloodline, your decisions, your relationships, your purpose, your spiritual life, leave your request below. Our army will pray for you. You don't fight this battle alone. You are part of a spiritual family that stands with you. Now heed this clearly. Don't just watch and walk away. What God started here continues in the next message. Your deliverance comes in layers. Your breakthrough comes in steps. Before you close this video, click on the next prayer I'm recommending on your screen. Don't break the sequence. What God began in you tonight, He will finish in the next video. Subscribe so you never miss the prayers God sends for your life. Like so it reaches more people who need freedom. Share with someone you love. You never know whose bloodline needs deliverance tonight. Your story changes here. Your bloodline shifts here. Your freedom begins here. Now go. Step into the next video. Your breakthrough continues there.